Even before the year began, then acting Bonanno boss Anthony "Tony" Green Urso stressed the damage that defectors were inflicting, suggesting in a tape-recorded conversation that the mob would be better served to lift its self-imposed ban against killing relatives of mobsters who cooperate with the FBI. "It's gotta stop," a frustrated Urso declared during a September 13, 2003 discussion about turncoat underboss right Salvatore Vitali. "Now this one's a rat, that one says, well, fuck it, if he can do it, I can do it. You tell them, whoever turns, we'll wipe your family out. If you take one kid, I hate to say it, and do what you gotta do, they'll fucking think twice. How would Sal feel if I killed one of his kids?" Urso's tape-recorded words were later played by federal prosecutors at the trial of Bonanno boss Joseph Massino, the so-called Last Don, who was found guilty of 7 mob murders and other racketeering charges. All told, using a bunch of mob associates and a dozen made men as witnesses at 3 trials, the feds managed to bring down the leaders of 3 families: Massino, Gambino boss Peter Gotti, and acting Lucchese boss Louis Bagels. Dayton. The turncoats included courtroom veterans like Lucchese mobsters Alphonse Little Al Diarco and Frank Gioia Jr., and newcomers like Gambino wise guys Mikey Scars, DiLeonardo, and Frankie Fapiano. Rather than confront other mob defectors, Colombo consigliere Joe Waverly Cacus and Genovese capo Luis Moscatiello took plea deals rather than face certain convictions at trial, and even longer prison stretches than they bargained for: 20 years for Cacus, 7 for Moscatiello. Along the way, especially during the holiday season, the feds send out messages to reinforce the proposition that mob defectors who please their law enforcement allies will be amply rewarded. The feds behave in much the same manner that John Gotti acted when he was running things. The late Dapper Don liked to reward up-and-coming wannabes around Christmas time. Son Jr. and Mikey Scars left were straightened out at a special Christmas Eve induction in 1988. Likewise, this month, the feds showered Christmas gifts on at least 3 witnesses in their growing stable. One day after Salvatore "Fat Sal" Mangiavillano ended his testimony about a Gambino family plot to kill turncoat Salvatore "Sammy Bull" Gravano at Peter Gotti's trial in Manhattan federal court, a federal judge agreed with a request by the feds to release Fat Sal on bail. 2 weeks later, on December 17, Frank "Red" Scalo, who testified against Gotti at his labor racketeering trial in Brooklyn, got his Christmas present. A former International Longshoremen's Association vice president, Scalo served as a mob bagman on the Brooklyn and Staten Island docks for 2 decades. He received a time served sentence of 1 day in prison. That same day, weeping Colombo soldier Joseph Campanella shed tears of joy when told he would have to serve just another 7 months, for a total of 33 as punishment for a gangster life of crime that included several murder conspiracies during the family's bloody war that left 12 dead in the early 1990s. Federal prosecutors don't always wait until the traditional gift-giving holiday season to bestow good cheer on a turncoat, especially when their efforts might encourage others to cooperate, or more importantly, soothe growing discontent and concern among others who have already signed on with the feds. Take the case of Chris Picciella, the one-time mob-connected Miami club owner and Madonna pal who ran with a murderous gang of Bonanno wannabes in the early 1990s. Picciella, who initially agreed to take 30 years for charges that included his involvement in the murder of Staten Island housewife Judith Shemtov during a home invasion robbery, was later sentenced to 10 years after deciding very late in the game to cooperate. But Picciella, who prison sources say whines all the time, was not happy with the sentence and complained to his federal handlers. Working in his favor was a desire by prosecutors to use him as a witness next year at the bank robbery trial of 2 Gambino associates who are also implicated in the murder of an informer. In addition, other Bonanno turncoats, including Vitali and Frank "Curly" Lino, left who have many more dead bodies than Picciella on their mob resumes, also expressed concern about his double-digit sentence, and questioned what was in store for them. And so, last September 10, 4 assistant U.S. attorneys appeared in court with Picciella and his high-priced attorney Benjamin Braffman to praise Picciella as a completely reformed hoodlum and petitioned Brooklyn federal judge Edward Corman to reconsider his sentence. "How far down can you go in good conscience?" said an obviously troubled Corman. "How do I explain this to her, Shemtov's daughter?" he asked rhetorically before bowing to the pressure and cutting Picciello's term to 7 years, making him eligible for release in 2006. Like the late Dapper Don, who sentenced soldier Louis de Bono to death for ignoring orders to show up and pay homage to Gotti, the feds also punish cooperating witnesses, even for relatively minor transgressions when it suits them, albeit with less extreme consequences than fell upon de Bono. Take the case of turncoat Lucchese soldier Vincent "Vinny" Baldi Salinardi, right, who held back information that his girlfriend, who was down and out last year after he began cooperating, had received $900 in 3 installments from a businessman who had been a loan shark customer of Salinardi's. Despite the relatively minor charge, and a plausible explanation, Salinardi and the businessman had become partners in a car wash, and after he began cooperating, his girlfriend kept bugging him for money, so he told her to ask the businessman for help. The feds have told him they're tearing up his cooperation agreement. Unlike Picciella, or turncoat de Cavalcanti Capo Vinny Ocean Palermo, who withheld $1.7 million but whose testimony was needed last year to convict Genovese soldier Federico Frizzi Giovanelli, the feds no longer need Vinny Baldi's help to win any convictions. More than 20 Salinardi co-defendants, including his father, girlfriend and brother-in-law, all pleaded guilty when they learned he was cooperating. While Vinny Baldi isn't expected to appear on the witness stand for the feds in 2005, dozens of others are, including Vitali, Lino, Picciella, Campanella, Fapiano and DiLeonardo. Like 2004, next year is likely to be another year of the rat.